are recording. So it's Vincent here from Damson Cloud, and we've got two guys from Kimbley IT. We have James and Kyle, and we've just been to the Google SMB Partner Summit for EMEA. That is a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah.
So,
and it's the first time Google have done this, actually. This is the first time they've had an SMB focused event.
yes, and that's the one last year I wasn't invited to, so I guess it was an SMB.
Probably. Yeah, they've had a bunch of enterprisey ones at this before, but not SMB focused. So they've had ones where they've had a lot of the big enterprise customers, or enterprise partners. But I think it's the first time I've seen them focus on SMB as an actual, within their partner segment. Even though their version of SMB and our version of SMB might differ a little bit.
Without a doubt. Yeah, their version of SMB still isn't quite.
Only tiny bit.
Unravel that, James. Yeah, their version of SMB is still somewhat lacking in their description. I think they reckon at least 100 people in the company.
Yeah.
And they need to revise that a little bit. But they did make a good effort at it.
They did, yeah. I think there's definitely been a better effort made, and it's good to see them actually focusing on it. Before there was no focus, so at least now there's something. It's kind of something is better than nothing. But I don't know. What was your kind of key takeaway from the event? What did you?
Well, my best part was the ANIA.
We both know what he's going to say.
We'll find out. I like the ANIA Kuruk. Is that her name, Ania Kuruk?
Ania Kuruk, yeah.
Yeah, a jewellery business from Poland even. But her speech was awesome. That was the best speech of the whole thing. It livened up the whole event. People really felt it, and it made sense that she has 80 employees in her business, small for Google.
So
Yeah, that's smaller than what they were talking about in some of the breakouts.
It's normally Airbus.
Like SMB for 2,000 seats or something like that. Yeah.
But her story was very good about her business and her passion for G Suite. That's the type of customer you want. When you got a customer like that, she was it. You could just take her anywhere and she'd sell G Suite to any other business without a problem.
She was the evangelist that we all want.
Yep.
I know it's interesting because
I've never felt more jealous.
I know you said that
Completely.
you were like, oh man, I would just kill for
Customers that would evangelise like that for you. Yeah.
Just like going around from event to event. Just let him hold.
I'll hold it. I'll hold it for now and I'll just do that to you. There you go. That's just easy for you, isn't it?
There you go.
He's delegated that to me. That's what he does.
What about you? What was your favourite bit in the event?
It was finally this morning. If I'm going to exclude the social side of it, it was actually this morning with Sam and his enterprise, how to sell G Suite Enterprise. And actually, what he was talking about related really well to the customers that we deal with, someone with 20 to 50 users or something.
Which we were both saying was surprising, considering it was the enterprise pitch.
Yeah, but this guy whoever did the slide deck and him seemed to get why people buy. Yeah, and he was like, stop talking about your features and comparisons, ditch all of that, get inside the company, understand what matters to them. He had some good stats about a family business, and a family business doesn't want to risk the loss of its heritage, and those things are all things that make people think more clearly about what they might do next if they think they may lose their business in 5 years.
And coming back to Anya's thing, she told us how her family had lost the business multiple times. So it's a real risk, and I think for small businesses, I remember Donald actually saying about how small businesses make decisions and how enterprises make decisions. It's very different. Small businesses, it's very personal. So like when an enterprise, 5,000 employees or something, when the guy buys a fleet of vans, he asks the sales guy, well, does it have ABS brakes, or is it safe for my employees? Can it hold X amount of cargo? Great, I'll buy 100 of them or 1,000, whatever. When it's a small business buying a van, it's also potentially going to be what he drops his kids off to school in, or do you know what I mean? It's gonna have multiple functions, and so it's a personal purchase, and I think that's the difference with SMB, isn't it? It's a personal thing.
Ania showed that with her talk, how personal it was, how important it was to her to have the right product to help her communicate.
What was it she said? Either move to G Suite or divorce her husband.
Yeah.
Choices.
Yeah, so
pretty
personal.
He wanted to move back to Spain.
Yeah, that was the interesting, from the perspective of someone who was speaking, put together a really good talk, and at the end she hit you with the things that you want to walk away with, the walk away with. Oh, I live in Spain now.
Yeah.
She didn't say that all the way through the story. Oh, we're based in Poland, and I'm getting it. Okay, it's all in Poland. You're Polish, and then she hits you at the end. Oh, I live in Barcelona now,
and I run the whole.
And I run the whole thing from Barcelona, and you're like, wow. Okay, so that says to you, you know, you don't have to be this commute and all this kind of stuff that everybody did. She's running it from a different country and making it work. I'm sure she travels back to Poznan quite regularly, but the fact is she doesn't have to be based. She can now live with her husband who's Spanish and enjoy that aspect of their life.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. It was a nice end to it.
That was the best thing about the speech, because it had humour, very funny.
Yeah.
Lots of it.
Humour was important.
Yeah, she was a great speaker.
Yep.
She did really well.
I don't actually think the speech was planned that much. I think it was just natural, to be honest. I don't think there was much into it.
It was naturally, it was just done. When I spoke to her, she was actually quite conservative and shy when I spoke to her.
Used to sharing. No, you're not. Yeah.
I think she just rolled with that. Pretty much knew what the slides were going to be. Like, I'll talk this, I'll talk.
Idea,
But she just naturally freestyled it, and she was good. And that's where you get the genuine. That's the bit where it works, because it's genuine from the heart.
Yeah, and I think that was what was. I mean, so some of the other stuff was good content maybe, but it was just that getting through the slides. Whereas hers, she could have done the entire thing without the slides.
And that's the mark of a great speech or a great talk.
I remember someone saying that to me before, that you need to remember that your slides are an aid, but they're not your presentation. So you need to make sure that you can do it without.
Yeah, absolutely, Finton. Drop the prop.
Yeah.
I do my Toastmasters thing, which everybody knows that if they watch me, that's what I do. And there's no slides in that. You just get up and talk. And you're right. Yeah, they have a valid point. But you shouldn't always use them.
They help to get your point across.
And sometimes you do need them.
Yeah, they definitely help. But particularly if you've got maybe a graph or some with a lot of information or data. Like some of the breakout sessions, they had a lot of technical stuff. But like she could have done her whole talk and with no slides, and it still would have made sense. You know what I mean? It still would have been inspirational and funny and all that kind of stuff.
Makes me think that if Google really wanted to help SMB partners, what they can do is get Anaya into a room, fill that room with people who don't use G Suite, give them the speech, and then at the door we all get to take one home and convert them into a customer.
I'm hoping
they recorded that. Going back to the event, I did like meeting Googlers that I'd spoken to via chat and email in the past, but never met in real life. So it was good. I met Paul. Lots of surnames.
Oh yeah, Paul Emmersley.
Paul Emmersley Martin. Yeah, he's a nice guy, great guy. Yes.
I'm sure you guessed that a lot.
It was good chatting to him. He did a talk afterward. He did a talk in the thing, but
at one stage,
the actual get down. Because we had that listening session that you and I went to, where the guys sat down and wanted to hear our advice and guidance on what they need to do to make it easier for us to work with G Suite.
Yes, the sort of exec breakout things. You shouldn't have delegated it to him. He doesn't know what he's doing.
It was good, and you and I, we won't say what we discussed about because it's kind of private, but we both mentioned the same thing. We found out afterwards, even though we were on different tables. Yes.
Yeah, I actually came in at the end. I missed some of it, but it was good. And
what were you doing?
I ended up just losing track of time. I was chatting to somebody, and I was like, "Oh my god, it started!"
No surprise there.
No surprise there. So in terms of like takeaways for your business, like stuff that you guys feel you could or you might be able to implement, was there anything that you got from it that you were like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna be able to go do that, maybe in some of the breakout sessions?
Yeah, you can answer it. I'm delegating the answer to you.
That means you can't think of anything.
I'll come back to me in a bit.
No, I'm going to actually. There were aspects, and it was from that enterprise one this morning when I'm thinking about which videos I'm going to do, and I made a list in my keep notes of things that I want to talk about. Yeah, and there was particularly a picture of the iceberg where the top of the iceberg was cost, and then underneath was the hidden costs that a lot of bigger organisations have. And that made me think about the steel company that I've worked with outside of Kimbley when I was a consultant. And I'm right, okay, this is relevant for anybody else. And the amount of savings that a business of, say, 100 employees who use computers could make on enterprise is phenomenal, because what you don't normally consider with a 20-user business is they're not going to have racks of servers and Cisco kit and firewalls everywhere. Well, a lot of that stuff gets wiped out if you move through enterprise. You don't, and the savings there will be tremendous. When they say you can get low-cost Chromebooks, well, yeah, if you're replacing 200 Windows computers, it's a lot of money, particularly if then they have a thing that says, oh, we have to buy brand new. So you get 200 times 800 quid, big money, and then you can put the Chromebooks instead. So there's a massive...
massive.
It almost,
that TCO thing, the total cost of ownership.
It almost made me sit there thinking, you know what, James, if we were targeting the enterprise market, and by that I mean 100 to 200 employees, that sort of size, actually, there may be an easier case point for why they'd want to switch than there is with someone who's got 20 people. Because there's a lot more stuff that's driven by money and value that you can show them that you can't show them. I can't convince somebody who hasn't, maybe he's got some Macs and stuff, they haven't got a server, well, there's no savings I can make you there. It's more about the change culturally that we're going to bring to you.
No, I think you're right. I think there is. It's a different pitch, isn't it? And certainly with some of we've definitely experienced that with some of the larger companies. I can remember even 7, 8 years ago when we started doing this. An IT manager and a 250-seat customer that we moved over, and he said we were able to turn off 2 or 3 servers, by moving to Google. They were virtualizing out the email servers and stuff like that, and all the backups and redundancy that they had, all that just went away.
That's just so much money that they have to spend on that kind of stuff, redundancy if you're doing virtualization, and then your backup products, and you think, right, if you move it all to enterprise, then the backup becomes one of the products like spanning, which is very straightforward how much it costs, and the implementation is a couple of clicks. Crazy amounts of money that these companies can save. So when people say, oh, you can't sell on cost and price, actually you've got an angle at enterprise level to sell on cost and price alone if you really wanted to. You could push that angle.
And that was very well thought through.
No, it was really good. I thought it was really good.
What about for you? Was that one your favourite from today and yesterday? Or in terms of takeaway stuff that you might, or was it like Anya's one where maybe you want more?
Anya's was the one. Anya's the one for me. That's the one that I want to go out and get a customer like that. I really do.
Implement in your business.
Because I like the marketing side more than the technology side.
And you guys have a few customer videos, but
we do.
Much more.
Well, straight after the Anya one, who did I do? I called the video company and told them that
You did, didn't you?
Yeah. Wednesday. I'm going to see them Wednesday next week to get some more client stories recorded, because the last ones we did, it's probably about a year ago since we did the last ones.
So it's time for an update.
One of them is going to be an update of an existing client who's with us. So they did it 5 years ago, so it's going to be 5 years further down the line.
Nice.
And then we're going to do it for a new client as well. So it motivated me. I was going to do it anyway, but that was a thing that I just thought I'm going straight into it.
No, that's cool. And I think for me, that was a huge takeaway as well. Was definitely more customer stories. Let your customer sell your business for you, basically. You know what I mean? That was the message, whether she meant to or not. That she kind of got
across. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And then the other thing I think for me was probably the lead gen or lead nurturing one that.
Yes.
You guys did
I didn't see that one. No.
365 compete. And I actually found that really good. Yeah, again, like the other chap, Sam, really well thought through. And clearly the guy knew what he was talking about, which sometimes in these type of things you're a little bit unsure about. Has the person just gotten someone's slide deck and they're reading it out? Yeah. He really knew his stuff. He went through a lot of the different areas that you need to focus on as a business, both big and small. I think Donald had commented on when me and you and him were chatting that, like, as a small business, sometimes we don't have the budget to do all of this. And I think that's true, but I definitely feel there's areas like, I'm definitely going to do that, I'm definitely going to do that. I would pick and choose from the different, inbound, outbound.
So he was talking about the marketing mix, was he?
Yeah, it was a bit of a marketing mix of, like a lot of, it's standard stuff, we would all know it. But I think it was good to kind of see Google validating some of the video stuff and content stuff that all of us do. And validate maybe, or maybe less validate, but sort of tell you the gaps that you had. Okay, here's the areas I need to work on. Definitely for me, there was 2 or 3 things. It was like, okay, we do those things, we don't do those things, so we need to.
One of the things I like Google to do, partner up with a smaller partners, because as they said, it's all about feeling and passion to get people to sell. And it's only our client stories that have that. An enterprise client story doesn't have feeling or passion. It's a CTO talking to it. They'll try and build a story into it, but it's only the ones that have dealt with small businesses and small partners that have the true passion in it, because it's a personal thing.
It's a personal thing. I think you can find it in the bigger ones, but you're right, it's much more unusual. Do you know what I mean? I've seen one or two out of several dozen where you're like, oh, that guy's really passionate about Google and passionate about
you get the individual, but you can't get the whole business, which you can with the smaller businesses.
The thing that they always show the picture of global working, and why can't they show people working in Leeds, Manchester and Newcastle, for example? That's more realistic to most of us, is people in different towns. London. They don't need to be in London, Paris, New York. Yeah, they're fine if they're in different towns. They're fine if it's down the road. I know companies with an office on the opposite side of a road, and they've had grief historically, VPNs, wireless bridge, cable, and you wipe all that stuff out as well. You don't really just have 2 internet connections and you're done.
I think you're right. It's because what customers need when they see something like that, and what any of us need, is we need to feel we can relate to it. Do you know what I mean? I need to be able to say, oh, that's me, or that's like me. Do you know what I mean? You're someone like me, and that's what with Anya, that was the whole point. That people could go, you're someone like me.
Google's marketing, as we know, is too much unicorn focused. That you're going to be a next billion dollar company with global offices everywhere and a workforce of 60,000 people.
I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well that day.
But, that's going to happen soon, right?
Yeah, that's why they should focus on Anya.
Yeah, and just businesses like that sort of smaller customer story where, like you say, you're getting it's funny, they've done that in the past with some of their marketing stuff.
They did a few in America, like little private pizza areas, stuff like that,
There's a few of them like that. There was a great one about with the coffee company. I can't remember, your man and his dad setting it up.
They did have a really good one once of a small marketing agency. I think it was in London. I think the marketing agency might have been called Creative or something.
Yes, I know.
And that was a really, really good one, that was.
Yeah.
So I used to use that a lot, that one.
They haven't done those ones recently.
No, not at all.
Current ones of that.
No.
Because what was cool about her talk as well, not to bang on about too much, but as we all said and as everybody said,
it was the highlight, so might as well.
Highlights, one of the highlights. She had actually, I think it was one of you guys said to me, she had practical examples. She had screenshots. Of the Google
real
sites,
screenshots.
The intranet that they had, the spreadsheets, the whole shebang, and I think that changed. Again, that made it more relatable.
I was amazed because it was a Google Plus screenshot as well.
Yes,
actually using the business version of Google Plus.
Yeah, it's unusual, all right. Now it'll be
currents.
Currents, yeah.
Do you know when that's happening?
No idea.
Yeah, that definitely. If you can frame it in somebody's world and you can show them their problem, either you solving it yourself or even better where you're showing an example of how you solved that for an existing customer, it really puts it right in there. Yeah, it puts it personally in their world, and the stories that you tell have got to be personal around that world, and it was easy for everyone in that room to relate to Anya as a prospect or a customer of theirs because the size was right for the room. Whoever hired her to come and talk that day got it right. There's somebody there who was really switched on with it.
Shout out Bono Cloud. Bono's Cloud.
Buena
Cloud.
Yeah, Buena Cloud, as in the Spanish word. Yeah.
They were. They sound like an excellent partner. I don't think they were there because I did ask her that.
We checked out their website and it was iffy. It was CSS wasn't loading.
CSS wasn't loading. So it was all New Times Roman. For white background.
And
I think that's the demand, everyone checking them out.
Might have been, after the thing. Yeah, too many people.
And they still called it Google Apps for working bits of it as well, which was funny, but updated for a while.
They're passionate about it.
They're passionate, they've got passionate customers, they don't even need a website. Your man's inundated with work. Yeah, they seem like an interesting partner. I think for me, the sort of final takeaway or key thing, as is always the case with these things, is the networking. It's getting to do stuff like this, both meeting up with people that we already know and also getting to meet new partners and stuff like that. I did like that Google have started to take more time for those kind of things. Like this year, there's definitely more breakout sessions, more networking time. If I was to give feedback on the event itself, I would like, and again, I think we all had this conversation, less of the kind of fluff stuff in the first day, and I would like the second half of the first day to have been breakout sessions. And then breakout sessions today, because there were multiple times I went to a breakout session and there was another breakout session happening at the same time that I wanted to attend.
Because even Googlers were saying that to us. It's a shame that they've clashed these things, because even the Googlers wanted to go to 2 different ones and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I think that frustrates people, because often at these things it's like there needs to be for the corporation, and it's not just Google that do this,
Or record it at least.
Or record it, but I think that there's something about the live Q&A and having more time for Q&A. But I think with a lot of these things, it's like they have to have a certain amount of the standard corporate, like here's how great we are, and
That was annoying. It was too much. Too much about Google, not about the partners. It was one of the breakout sessions we went in this morning. I can't remember if it was the first one I think it was the first one and the second one. There was at least 10 to 15 minutes of that, just bigging up our Google and our sales team and how I don't care about your sales team.
Guys were talking.
It's got nothing to do with me. It doesn't help me at all how good your sales team are doing.
Yeah.
There's a key thing to
enough stuff through partners.
The key thing to remember in all your messages: what's in it for me?
Yeah,
that's what James is saying. What's in it for me? Not this.
Well, that's what you go along for. I don't invite you. Yeah. I invite you to my birthday party because you're going to give me a present, so something in it for me.
That's what he thinks. Yes, and when you start talking and speaking, do not start with, I am Carl, like 20 years ago I started doing this, and then I don't give a monkey's what you did, it's what you can do now. Shut up and get on with the good stuff.
And just make sure all the talks are relevant, because I don't know what happened this morning.
That was the best one this morning, wasn't it? That was class.
The 10x one, I missed that.
Yes, the 10x one, all about Google Ads. I seriously think the guy had been thought, because it's called Google Partners, it was about Google Ads Partners. His presentation was all about ads. It was very odd.
Because there was something similar with the leadership thing that kicked off the first day, where that person that they had brought in ended up not being that inspiration, and the talk wasn't as relevant. Do you remember? Or did you guys miss that one?
I think we might have missed that one.
It might have been okay.
Yeah, this guy just spoke about mid-tier advertising revenue at 100 million.
He's an American, so he clearly flown in for it, but he seemed to have been briefed wrongly about what the whole event was about, really.
It was the same on the first day as well. It was a woman they'd flown in, a professional sort of speaker, and it just didn't hit home with people, do you know what I mean? And what was interesting was Anya's talk had the effect that they wanted her, this leadership guru they brought in to have. And yet Anya just
revived the day.
Yeah,
Anya saved the day for them.
She did, because and again I think that's the type of stuff they could cut, because as many of the partners I coached said, that sort of high level executive leadership type stuff is nice, and some people are into that. But for small businesses, it's not practical.
It's not relevant.
It's not relevant.
Yeah. We're not normally talking to mid-managers. We're talking to the owners and the directors.
As one of the partners said to me when we were out for drinks, you're talking about leadership and how I can lead my team when I'm one person or 2 people. Like it just doesn't make any sense. What I want is, it's gotten really quiet in here. What I want is practical stuff that I can go and implement in my business the next day, like the breakout sessions. Do you know what I mean? So for me, they just need to, it's fine to have that kind of, talk about how great Google is type stuff, but and some of it is valuable, like the marketing guy I thought was quite good, and there's a couple of other talks during the day about GCP and G Suite and stuff that were valuable, but they could have condensed them down into half a day. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Definitely.
And the other thing is they go over stuff that is super basic, that you shouldn't even be a partner if you don't know this. Why are you bringing up? It's like the
G Suite one this morning.
The one Microsoft 365 versus G Suite. That was basic. That was literally the most basic training you'd ever get. It's like when you do your fundamental sales training, it was stuff like that they're going over. It's like
real compete stuff that was.
No, you shouldn't. They had probably one interesting slide where they showed the price comparisons and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like, look, if seriously, this is stuff that you should know if you're a partner. It shouldn't be stuff.
Yeah, they were talking about files being locked when you open Excel and the file's locked, and you don't get that in Sheets. And like, okay, come on, this is basic.
That's not why someone moves from
It's not why I travel from Birmingham to Dublin to find out about that.
And it does indicate in a way that there's not much thought gone into it, because as we know with the fluid developments at Microsoft, some of the case points that they had on there will be
irrelevant
moot points very soon. So that's not going to work.
And as many of us know that have been in the game for longer, that isn't what we use, to convince our customers of.
Not at all.
And it's contradictory, because that one spoke about pretty much features and benefits. That's what they were talking about. This feature beats that feature. And then we go and see the enterprise guy, Sam, and he says, forget features and benefits. It's a waste of time. That's not going to sell the product.
Yeah.
He was right.
Yeah.
Can't help that.
No, I know.
I do get loud, don't I? I do get loud, don't I? Sorry.
No, I think you're right, because Sam's pitch was just totally different, and as you said, it clearly showed that he had put a lot of thought into that presentation himself, and Marnie, the chap who did it, had put thought into it.